clearly the entertainment industry has been hijacked by a lot of suits, right? And suits who don't care about art. We used to have suits that actually cared and were passionate.
Zeus.
What up?
What up, bro?
Chillin', man.
Oh, what they get Zeus GC?
Hey, pick one, man. Zeus Deuce one a rapper.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, Zeus Deuce twice as nice as Don Juan used to say. So whatever, man.
What's up, bro?
I'm chilling.
It's been a long time coming, bro.
It has, but I'm glad we waited this long because, like I said, I'm not about just trying to do media for the sake of doing media. I want to come here with something to sell, right? And something to reflect on. So I'm happy that I'm here after the albums come out.
Because now I was not thinking, no, that.
Listen, there's a handful of journalists who I believe have really served the music and entertainment space, Botswana, to a point where, like, every single artist should give them flowers whenever they see them, you know? Dumisani Mube is definitely one of those people. GG is definitely one of those people. And I definitely have to include Kwaku as well in that list. So I think for a lot of us who've been around for at least the last decade plus, we've seen what it means to have, great entertainment journalism. In fact, entertainment sections. There used to be a time when even our print media was very committed to the entertainment industry. Journalism is dying. It's dying a very fast and painful death. So please, journalists, we need you. We need you. Podcasting. Bring in your journalistic principles. Bring in the things they want to make you better than any random person who picks up a mic.
No, I get you, bro.
It's wild.
Dude, where have you been? You've been hiding, bro. It's been years.
It's ridiculous to me, the notion that people think that you're hiding or whatever. No, I've been living my life. I've been in the spaces where I was meant to be, at the times I was meant to be. So it's funny because I actually spoke about it on a skit that I did for Pieces of the Now. That's the album that Sony Music Africa brought back but never released, right? And that skit was just about laughing at the culture, laughing at the whole thing. Where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Because the truth of the matter is, let's be honest, most times when people say that, they don't really care about where that artist is or where their work is. It's really just, you fell off. So, and to me, it's ridiculous because who falls off? People that are obsessed with fame and don't understand that it's all just the cycle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here today, gone tomorrow, right? And that's kind of the way it should be in some ways. Yes, I know some of us have been here for a long time and we ain't going nowhere. Eat your heart out. I'm sorry, fake goats. Last laugh is dope, right? But the reality is, some of us understand that life is a passing moment, and I think some people want to hold on to, those little moments that they feel will define them for the rest of their life or whatever, so it is what it is. Trust me, you get what you give.
Because they've been asking, why is Zeus not releasing music?
What?
Zeus was big and then he just like...
You know what? Those people, I always say, your biggest concern should be what? Azusu sharp. Is he okay? Is he happy? Is he content? Is he at peace? You know what I mean? Because, having lived the life I've lived and seen what I've seen, seen, friends and mentors who had all the success in the world, not enjoy their lives. No. we're not playing those games anymore. You know, we think you're good just because you're dropping hit albums. You know, we're not playing those games, you know, because you amassed this, that, or the other. You know, you are good. No, like, I've been happiest at times when I'm not anywhere in your conversations or in your spotlights or in your whatevers. You know what I mean? So if I'm happy and at peace, I hope you can be too.
Do you know what kind of things, you know, like they'll be talking of our Casper when you visited what AKA that. And they're like, and I remember Zeus killed Casper when you visited Cliff Central. But look at Zeus when like Zeus was big and then now Casper now bigger than him.
Do you know that whole bigger than thing? What if you don't understand anything I just said 2 minutes ago, where I was literally talking about seeing people with incredible amounts of success, you know, not being happy to a point where even life isn't worth living. My friend, what is your success? Define your success. You know what I mean? Because I've seen niggas stay miserable after getting millions. You know what I mean? Like, what are you telling me? What are you who's never even lived either my moments or whoever's moments, you know what I mean, who has no perspective of the full range of life and all of its nodes. Come on, man, you can't tell me nothing. Like, trust you me, I've made choices that I would make again in a heartbeat. Because people don't get it. People just don't get it. Like, you know, I've always said, if you don't have 100 pula, you know, you think that getting 100 pula is going to change your world. Right? God, you might feel like, well, this like sorry, clipper, this and that, whatever. You know, like, boss, Skitly will be done in not so long. You know what I mean? So, you know, perspective is everything. And to me, the quality of life is not about the quantity of life. So I'm very happy. And that's not to knock or downplay any of the achievements that, you know, so many of my peers have managed to amass, especially when we talk about material, right? But material, my friend, this material world, Shem, there's no happiness in here.
There's no happiness.
No.
So I can say that you ate your peace like these past years when you
100
not active.
100. And you know, you find other challenges, of course, right? But when it comes to the peace of mind of, you know, finding yourself, you know, being with yourself, you know, instead of sometimes feeling like very lonely in crowded rooms, which is common practice in industry, you know. Yeah, that's gold. Like, I think people underestimate what it means to get older, and to get older with grace and with dignity. You know what I mean? Not necessarily with fame and fortune, you know, because again, when you get older, you really start to realize fame and fortune is very fickle. It's not the end all be all. I mean, those things are actually meant to facilitate other things that should really bring you the true peace of mind, right?
So, at which point did you like say, let me take a break?
My first major moment where I felt like, okay, we need to pause this machine was after African Time. Because African Time was just so incredible. Like, it was a moment where we got everything right. But like, the music was right. And it's crazy for the fans who've never understood the power of African Time, because, you know, there's a lot of Zeus fans who liked you know, Boogie Jima and Champagne music and the hip hop and the cool character stuff and all of that. So this whole exploration of Pan-Africanism, of Black identity, it's just like, what? Black subjugation? No, we're not dealing with all of that. We're not here to talk about slavery and neocolonialism. you know. But the reality is, for me and my soul, it was important to get that work out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, once that was done, I feel like I felt the achievement, and I understood how monumental the impact of the project would be. You know, I remember I think it was hiphopafricangateway.com or something. They said people would only start understanding this album in 2023.
That was the African hip hop blog.
Yeah, African hip hop blog. Yeah. Like, man, like that was one of the biggest compliments anybody has ever given me. And it's crazy when I think about it, because when I look at the way that Africans are organizing and are starting to truly usher in an age where we're not, you know, trying to you know, tote the line for somebody else's framework, you know, for us to be able to renegotiate deals with minerals and big mining companies that have been here forever, for us to start to, you know, reconsider what land means and how we're allocating it, and, you know, the conversations around getting land back, you know. When you start to look at, the self-determination that a new generation of Africans is defining, you know, and redefining, versus, you know, the boomers who thought that ushering in an era of neo-colonialism meant something. You know, these things to me say, okay, maybe those guys were right. You know, maybe African time was 2023 and not necessarily 2013. You know, so I think I always had a good sense of, you know, contentment, understanding what we successfully did, just in terms of messaging. And, you know, it's crazy how Nomadic on Botswana Renaissance Art, you know, talks about African time coming from an African prime minister, right? He kind of plays on the whole thing that I gave my audience that project when I was at my prime, you know, but also kind of speaking to the political role that he might see me in, you know, and mad love for my brother, you know, like that concept on classic record spin was mind-blowing. You know, I've never put myself in anybody else's shoes the way I did for Nomadic, and nobody's ever done what he did for me, you know. So yeah, you know, long story short, or long story long, you know, there was a clear sense that we'd achieved what we needed to with African time. And for me, it came at a time where I felt like, whoa, I'm coming off of this album, coming out of the Big Brother stint, which led to the mixtape stint, the Honey I'm Home stint, coming out of that. Before Big Brother, it was literally just back to back to back. It was the flip side. It was Freshly Baked, you know, and all of this while I'm in university, you know, while I'm grinding in South Africa and starting to find my way through some of the continent. And it was a lot, you know. I think when you're young, you don't really think about the steps you take. You just take those steps and keep moving. But I think there was a very kind of divine, you know, guiding voice that said to me, you know what? Like, you've got more to explore than just the music industry. You know, because another thing people don't understand, it's very easy to not live a real life when you're in the music industry. When you live this funny sheltered life where it's almost like you're not like real people, you know, you're just getting all these perks, and, you know, you're moving around every weekend to go to shows, and, you know, you're used to talking to groupies and not necessarily, you know, real women who will give you like full insights and who have a spine and a sense of self and things, you know? So yeah, like, you gotta kill the shit show at a certain point. And like, You know, I used to joke and say after the champagne, the champagne music era, you must drink water.
Yeah.
There must be like those sobering, grounding moments, which is what I felt after African time. And geez, I thank God I felt that. Because geez, would I even be alive if I hadn't?
With all the groupies and champagne.
And it's not even just about groupies and champagne. Like I said, even when I look at all of my dudes, dudes who I saw, lose their life to the game in a lot of ways, it wasn't necessarily about groupies and champagne. There was so many more issues, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think grounding yourself in who you are outside of your artist persona, outside of industry, and finding peace in, that understanding is one of the greatest gifts anybody who's in showbiz can give to themselves.
You found the peace.
Gotta get your peace, man. And it makes it easy to come and go, because it's not like I don't get my value or my potential or my skills from an artistic standpoint, but what I get now more than ever is that I'm not defined purely by those things. This is the reason why you see so many artists so frustrated when they're not, especially if they've tasted a level of success.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're not as famous, they're not as popular, they're not as rich. And then all of a sudden it's like they're not a human being anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're special with or without all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now you're big with the band, dropped 2 albums, bro, within the first week of the year. But before we get there, there's something that I want us to clear real quick. Like a lot of Botswana asking these questions, bro. You're supposed to drop an album, Reach It for Imagination.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was Corners, Clubs and Churches. That should have been my debut album before Freshly Baked, crazy enough. Shout out Forensic Records, Daddy Ski. I mean, it was, I just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But as a small label, I would have thought that the momentum we had from Botswana City, which was the first single from that album, and then Imagination, which just blew up in a way that was crazy. Like literally was number 1 on Yarona FM's top 100 for that year. I mean, if you think about how hard it is to be number 1 with international acts and this, that, and So for me, it was just like, why aren't we dropping the album?
Yeah.
Why aren't we what are we waiting for? We've got 2 number 1 singles.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And, to this day, I might still not get it, even if Ski was to try and break down what his game plan was. But I think already at that point, I was, very clear about what I needed to do for me as a young artist, I mean, geez, I was barely 19, but I was like, I get the fact that the iron is hot right now and we need a strike with a big album, because for me, albums have always been more important than singles.
Yeah.
You'll do great with a single. Yeah, that guy dropped that song, great. But an album, a great album, like start to end, is not a lot of people can do that, right? Like, I mean, there's a guy I love on Twitter, Tony the Dome, and he talks a lot about hip hop and music, classic music. And he's one guy who totally understands that notion, and he said it over and over that, and we used to say this all the time coming up, and it felt like people didn't see it. My dude, you can be a great freestyler. You can be an incredible freestyler, sister. You can be a great MC who writes incredible verses and will do incredible work on features, but starting just with a song, for you to start a song beginning to end, you dolo solo, writing that song, delivering the flows, like verse 1, chorus, verse 2, bridges, whatever your song structure, it's hard. And that's why not a lot of people have classic songs. Yeah. That's why even some of the dudes who think they're so badass in this country and elsewhere don't even have 3 songs that you can mention where you're like, yo, that is an incredible song, right?
Yeah.
So for me, an album is literally the peak of being able to make a great song, and then you make several great songs, and they gel together, and the narrative works as first act, second act, third act, like from theater or film kind of space, because that's what a great album does. It's like watching a feature film. It's like watching a documentary or whatever, you know? So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like, I to me, we can't forget what a good album means and what the power of a good album is. So yeah, very, very happy to be giving you great albums again.
So if JDC approaches you, you'll be like, let's release the album, because by then you're 19.
I'm actually very keen to go set up a conversation, because me and Ski are cool. We're great, you know. For us to put that album up, I really think the world deserves to hear that album. I mean, I cringe at some of the stuff now because I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God.
How many tracks in the album?
Jeez, that's a good question. I think there was about 12 or 13. It was very thorough. Kind of that was made during a time where an album was minimum like 14 songs, you know. Y'all's attention span has died. Like ever since Kanye did the whole 7-song album, now anything over 10 songs is like, oh no, you know.
We just want singles.
You want singles. It's crazy. Like, you don't even want singles anymore. You want clips. You want reels. You want shorts.
Yeah, I want shorts.
Be careful. I'm telling you, man, this whole social media is affecting your consumption habits.
Yeah. So you did something amazing this year, bro. This is only the 4th week of January. And on the 1st week of January, you dropped 2 albums, bro. 2 albums. Peace and All, this one. And then the second one is Sony Renaissance. It's you and Nomadic, it's a collaboration.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you know, one of the things that shocked me was when people were trying to insinuate that the reason I wasn't releasing was because I was out of ideas. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, first thing, the reason why it took so long, Sony Music Africa didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. The deal was 3 albums, 1 album a year. So if things had gone the way they were supposed to, 2018, you would have gotten Pieces of the Now. And then 2 more albums, 2019, 2020, under Sony. 2021, after leaving Sony, if you remember, I dropped the Draking mixtape.
Yes.
Right? And then 2022, crazy enough, TuneCore, I had disc 1 from War and Peace set for release. And then metadata issues or something, like, my God, ridiculous things, you know? But I took that as a sign in some ways to say, you know what? The time is not now. You know, do your other things, focus on the other parts of your portfolio. But the time will come, you know. Because I think anybody who knows the value of what they have is not obsessed with the clock. You know what I mean? Like, I trust in the music I make. I mean, from a hip hop standpoint, one of the things that you figure out about me is that the core of my music is very boom bap. And, you know, boom bap gives 0 F's what year it is. You know, like, dope lyricism, dope production will never go out of style. You'd be shocked if I told you that Botswana Renaissance art, most of that we did in 2017.
Yeah, I remember.
With War and Peace, most of that album was recorded 2021 odd, 2020, somewhere there. From about basically when after pandemic started relaxing and we started getting the chance to go to studio again and everything, you know. So I can't wait to hear what Botswana Renaissance art too could look like or could sound like, because I'd rather have you getting it fresh off the grill. You know what I mean? I'd love for me and Nomadic to record a sequel to that project in, the next 5-6 months and release it not more than 3 months after post-production is done,
Yes.
So yeah, all this stuff boils down to business. This is why I joined a major label, because I didn't want to have to worry about all these other nitty-gritties of distribution and marketing and PR, and like, these are functions that people don't understand. They're demanding, right? I'm so happy that this year, from last year, I started building a team that includes wonderful people, so I no longer have to worry about wearing all the hats, you know? But music fans take it so lightly that independent artists can just be everything you need.
So you're independent at the moment?
Yes. Ever since I left Sony, I'm independent, and I thank God, because I feel like in a lot of ways, what I was being set up for in terms of the kind of, trajectory that I know I'm looking to unlock, which already is happening with the projects we're dropping. I need ownership, and I need control, and I need to be able to say we're dropping next week and know that we're dropping next week, and know that it doesn't depend on a million other people in the value chain. You know what I mean? The fact that if I make that decision and the team is on board with it and we can run with it, we execute. Because this nonsense of being held,
What was the comment with Sony?
My biggest thing that I started noticing at the end, and I think a lot of big businesses suffer from this, is analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
If you know what that means, you know.
Yeah.
Too many big businesses aren't making decisions because they're afraid of making the wrong decision, because they're too busy looking at where the trends are going. What is this variable? What is this my friend, art doesn't work like that. Art is about you committing to some concept and sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
The rest will follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for you to sit there and want some kind of guarantee before you drop a project, you're not an artist. You must be willing to risk it. And for me, artists are not just the creators, the business people that have an appetite for risk, that believe in the conceptual relevance of what is in your art. Those people are artists too.
Yeah.
So you need those kinds of business people that, have the kahunas to be able to make decisions when they need to, It is what it is.
The album was already recorded.
It's a crazy story. I took Sony Music Africa a complete album.
Okay.
They bought it back, which means they loved it. They were happy with the album. And then once that happened, it was like, all of a sudden, dudes just started getting cold feet. You know what I mean? And I'll say dudes, but like, just generally speaking, I feel like a lot of the problems, because me and the label head were great. I actually even wanted to get a big man clause as part of my deal, and Jesus, when he left, because at one point he was gone, and I'm stuck with a team which I don't even know if they really understand my vision anymore, especially in terms of, from leadership standpoint, But yeah, it's crazy, man.
So when you're saying they bought it, was the cash involved?
Yeah, bought obviously means money.
Yeah.
There's a monetary value that they placed on it. They bought it back, but never released it. So for me, it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint that you buy something and don't get the return on your investment.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I've started to become a industry conspiracist, right?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that used to be quite popular back in the day was that you could get signed to get shelved.
Yeah.
That, you know, if you are a problem for competition on the label or whatever, they'd sign you to shelve you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, now I started having to try figure out some of these dynamics, you know, okay, so why did you sign me if you're not going to release me, right? Mm. But one of the things that really was an eye-opener to me was the Hollywood strikes last year.
Yeah.
And one of the incidents that happened, you know, actually several of these incidents have happened, but the biggest one was when that Roadrunner versus Acne movie was scheduled to be shelved by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously fans of, you know, the classic Looney Tunes productions were like, nah, like, are you kidding me? Like, you're telling me that we're not going to get a chance to see this movie? Hell no, you know? And it became apparent that the only reason Warner Brothers was even trying to do that was for tax purposes.
Oh.
So it seems guys are getting tax exemptions or something when they shelve productions. I don't know.
That's killing someone's career.
I don't imagine, and think about it like this. I'm glad that you said that. Imagine the filmmakers who are excited about bringing that production to life.
Yeah.
Who've spent months on set, who've spent months, if not years, on pre-production, post, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for some business guy who sits and just looks at numbers, they can say, oh, no, the tax credit here will do us better than releasing this film. And this is, by the way, assuming that the audience doesn't want to see this film. That particular film, Watch the Story, is gonna break records. I know this. Because already the internet has agreed that, we're gonna show off for this film. So clearly, the entertainment industry has been hijacked by a lot of suits, right? And suits who don't care about art. We used to have suits that actually cared and were passionate about seeing films like Roadrunner versus Acne released, not more excited about getting tax credits. So, I mean, from what I've seen, clearly it's much bigger than just, I don't have to say simplistic conspiracy. It's actually policy that is failing creatives, that is not protecting creatives, that is essentially working against art, you know? So, yeah. I hope audiences are paying attention and you lobby accordingly.
Speaking of policies, what's your take on COSBOTS? I know you used to sit on one of the chairs there. Yeah. I guys are getting my 50 pooler, 33 pooler.
The COSBOTS story is an interesting one for me because it's a beautiful story in some parts and then it's a horrible story in others, you know? First and foremost, I'll make it very clear. I had a second term. I could have been sitting on the board as we speak right now. Go ahead. Some of these things, I just want to be very clear about them because, the streets love to talk and talk nonsense, absolute nonsense. Even bum-ass homies were busy talking nonsense that COSBOTS. Yeah. Okay. I was there to literally help you dummies. We literally got there with that company in the red. Yeah. Like if it wasn't for our administration, there might not even be a COSBOTS. That thing was a quarter to liquidation. So you sit there and you listen to people speak who've never once showed up for the industry. Because by the way, the same people who make noise or COSBOTS, this, that, do they show up for elections, AGMs, to hold the company to account, to hold the executive to account? Do they?
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw during that time was that it's like the artists who are considered superstars or big, no, Shem, they're too important for that stuff. They're way too important for that stuff.
Okay.
And it baffles me because I'm there like, okay, you're the same person who wants to make noise once you get 20 pula. But do you understand why you're getting plenty pula? Do you understand how things could be different? Do you understand on a policy level what other ripple effects will come from other spaces? Because it's all fair and good to create great policies and say, this is our what's the unit Ghana? Your royalty, that you're gonna break down the formula for. But at the end of the day, your local stations, including the one that government owns or the ones that government owns, aren't even playing local content.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys see the discord? No, you don't, because you're too busy with your head in your ass, dummy. No, Shem, that's a special one for you, though.
So the solutions for you guys to be united for this whole COSBOTS vehicle to operate smoothly.
First thing is for people to understand how the industry works, how the game works. People are too happy to spend all of their time in studio, all of their time on stage. How many of you guys have read a book about how music publishing works? This is me talking to creative industry now, Like, a lot of cats don't understand jack about the reality of this business. And that's why it comes back to bite them. They're left bummy and broken on the streets. And then they want to start complaining, bitching and moaning about everybody else and not noticing, what have you done? For your own career? How are you safeguarding your assets, your intellectual property?
I know you have to go for another interview.
Yeah, I don't know.
So let's quickly talk about these 2 albums that you recently dropped.
Sure.
Like, just tell us in brief before we shut it down.
Man, like, for me, it's very simple. I take my music very seriously. I think you should know that by now. And if you don't, I don't know. Like, for me, it's not just about releasing music to try be relevant or to try get a gig or to try get paid. No. No. Like, I once heard Dr. Dre in an interview say something like how even if he was a plumber, he'd get home at night and he'd make beats. It feeds his soul that much. You know what I mean? So that's who you're dealing with when you're talking about me, right? For me, this music thing is not about hype. It's not about charts or fame or this, that. It's about me expressing the God-given talent that I have and crafting and refining all those things, and going to different places. So your time, I'm sorry to say, doesn't matter to me. With all due respect, your time, radio station XYZ, critic XYZ, wannabe fake rapper XYZ, nah. It's about my time, my decisions, my happiness, my peace, right? So if I'm good, you'll get it. And I'm so glad that, one of the biggest things after the music was done, these albums have literally been in the vault for years, But one of the things I wanted to do after the issues that popped up from Metadata with Tunco and all was the 29th of December, 2023. And then Botswana Renaissance Art dropped the 4th of January, 2024. So, yeah, one of the things that excites me the most, actually, is the fact that these albums were charting as number 1 and 2 in terms of BW hip-hop releases on Apple Music for the first 2 weeks of the year. I think for the 3rd year, we've gone to 2 with Botswana Renaissance Art and Drama Boy, top 5 dead or alive, back up at 1 with Township Music 2, So, to see guys from our era, doing well on streaming platforms, that's a huge, relief, because fan base wise, there's been a lot of questions around, okay, where are our fans? You know what I mean? Like the guys who are buying CDs, do they understand the streaming platforms? You know, so that really really excites me. But you know, one of the most special things that I think comes from these releases for me is what it means for BW hip hop beyond me. Right? And this is something that I've been following a lot when I'm watching some of my favorite artists. Anybody who knows me knows Nas has been my GOAT since I was a kid, you know what I mean? And I feel so validated that he's always been my GOAT after what he did with Hit Boy, with the 2 trilogies, you know, with the Magic trilogy and the King's Disease trilogy. The first one that dropped, if you remember that year when he won Best Grammy, a guy who should have won Best Grammy, Best Hip Hop ages ago. Like, he had Royce the 5'9" in that category, he had Freddie Gibbs in that category. I can't remember who else, but if you include him, that's 3 out of typically 5 nominees that were grown man rap. All these dudes were like seniors, right? Fast forward to this year, Killer Mike, Michael, my favorite album of the year. Incredible album, especially if you're a grown man and you're listening for a different type of content that moves you, that soothes you, that heals you, that, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what Michael did with that gospel-delic fusion. Beautiful. And by the way, War and Peace, this too is gospel-delic. So I was very excited to see that Michael was gospel-delic. I mean, Jesus is King, another hip-hop gospel-delic album I loved over the last couple of years. Long story long. Grown man rap, adult contemporary hip-hop is nothing to play with, and it's nothing to ignore. There was the notion for the longest time in hip-hop that hip-hop was a young man's game. Not true at all. And by the way, this is not the first time that this is being proven wrong. If you think about what LL Cool J was doing, both in the mid-90s and in the early 2000s, like making mature hip-hop with the likes of Boyz II Men, you know, with Pharrell in them, like, it's incredible to me that adult contemporary hip-hop is still not fully recognized as a subgenre of hip-hop, because now more than ever we know, okay, you know, there's the hyphy vibes, there's the trap, there's the West Coast, you know, whatever, you know. Adult contemporary should definitely be taken seriously. For Botswana, this year, 2024, when Motswako turns 30, we are putting adult contemporary hip-hop on the map. And already you see it. I mean, shout out my nigga Fella, The Society, Brap. The drop, you feel the impact, you know what I mean? So these albums to me, War and Peace, Disc 1, Botswana Renaissance Art, they are a testament to the future of BW hip-hop in terms of adult contemporary becoming a thing. I can't say this without mentioning Bula Citizen. Because to me, Nomadic, Bula Citizen, quintessential Setswana hip-hop, Setswana rap album, you know, and you get a lot of that. I mean, it's funny, I was saying to Todi even, with albums like Motso Africa, with Morafi,
African Time.
I mean, Maruapula, African Time. Motswako has been having adult contemporary hip-hop in the mix. So, I don't know, once again, I get that sense that Motswako is ahead of the curve. You know what I mean?
It's, for one, Zeus is officially back, and 2, it's the year of the old man.
Hey! Hey, bro. This is why today, my barber Otis, I was like, my G. We're not bringing this down all the way. I want to keep a bit of the grays. You know what I mean?
I can see the grays.
I'm in my salt and pepper era. Like, y'all should be scared.
In your jazz age era.
I'm in my jazz age era. Y'all should be scared.
Speaking of Botswana hip hop, bro, what's your take on the current state of hip
hop? Oh my God, there's so much hope. So many incredible young MCs. Two who I will mention right now, who I've worked with and just been so excited about them. O-Star, number one.
Yeah.
OE is elite in any language. OE can go to a cypher in Brooklyn and hold it down. Like, when I say things like that, you need to understand what it means. If you've ever left the country, if you've ever been to some of these boroughs, if you've ever been to, you know, hip-hop spots, Sky. I remember kicking it at a club outside DC. After the club like was closing down and stuff and we're leaving, and then dudes with the go-go drums had a cypher going, you know what I mean? I was like, we're going in, you know what I mean? So I know what it means to reach up to that level of competition, you know, radio station with whoever type thing, you know?
Yeah.
O-Star is elite. Mark my words. Take care of the kid, invest in the kid, grow the kid.
Yeah.
This to me is a guy who can MC Jesus with the most backpacker in the most Jesus like grungy underground dungeon. Like, he is that thorough, that informed, that cultured when it comes to boom bap MCing, you know. AB the Activist. That's another dude who, you know, I've been so impressed by not just his pen game, but even his range, you know, from new age boom bap to, you know, trap soul vibes, you know. Like, back in the day, people don't understand, it was a rarity to find that in one hip hop act, because hip hop acts were told to be one dimensional in a lane, you know what I mean? Whereas some of us, you know, were looking at guys like Andre 3000 and, you know, Fonte, and they were showing us that, yo, the mold doesn't have to be spit, bar, punchline, spit, bar, punchline, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm excited about guys like that. One take, you know what I mean? Jeez, this kid has literally got BW hip hop audiences, you know, creators excited without even really putting out an album, you know what I mean? The way they're using social media, you know, the way they're pushing new age boom bap with a strong authenticity that connects to, you know, the origins of the culture. I'm happy, I'm proud, keep doing you fellas, like, yo, ladies too, like, I see more and more young women coming up, you know, so we want to see that. We want to see more MCs and producers. Oh my God, producers. Ladies, get on them things. Lami, I see you.
So let me put you on the spot. Your top 5, BW top 5.
Yeah. Do you know, my BW top 5 will always move around, but the last time I did it, I noticed that I focused a lot on my peers and old generation. So I'm gonna start this time with 2 that I think will easily make my top 5 from generations after me. The first one is definitely Drama Boy, right? God rest his soul, man. Drama Boy was such a gifted Motswakolista that, you know, like I was saying about the clip that we were sharing this past week on social media, like, it's hard to find an MC that has the whole package. And for me, MC package is actually, it starts with 3 things before we start talking about other elements that, you know, people go commercial, you know, entities think a lot about. First thing obviously is rhymes. Your pen game. Can you write? Can you say something that is interesting, or that is funny, or that is thought-provoking, you know, or that is true, that is social commentary, you know? Drama Boy had all that. Like, he could literally do all of the above, you know what I mean? Flow, right? Can you flow? Are you on the beat? Are you on time, right? Man's locked over, through. Cadence, right? Your tone, your voice, are you cutting through? Brilliant, you know? So yeah, definitely I have to start with Drama. Funny enough, after I did Bootycast, I remember thinking, man, I didn't mention Drama in my top 5. That's horrible.
Yeah.
So Drama, Vizo. Vizo is the only other guy from the new school who I can look at. Because for me, when you talk top 5, we're talking several things. You know, what does your catalog look like?
Yeah.
Are you dropping albums? In your albums, are you dropping strong singles that are culture shifting? You know what I mean? Do you have, I mean, a guy like Drama Boy, it's ridiculous to me that this guy didn't have any award, you know, to acknowledge his incredible music. Like, that guy could give you 30 minutes of classic radio hits.
Yeah.
And there's very few people in this country, in hip-hop, who can give you 30 minutes of classic radio hits. Right? Scar, I see you.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So when you niggas talk all this goat shit, what are you saying, my nigga? You can't even give me 10 minutes on stage of classic songs people know. Word for word. You know? Yeah. So Vizo, he's up there. Def. Again, pen game, the flow game, cadence, you know what I mean? Simple, basic package before we get into anything else. Jeez, I can't have a BW top 5 that doesn't have Scar. That's just ridiculous, right? Like, it's funny, I was joking with him on his show that to me it's just as ridiculous as having a top 5 that doesn't have Zeus.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's hard now that I've included next gen, right?
Yeah.
Because I always say, Staga. Again, you can't ignore Staga. That's me. Aura. You know? Jesus. Aura is one of those guys where he's an anomaly. I mean, yes, you could argue, well, okay, he's got Sex and Gemini.
Yeah.
Brilliant albums. Sex obviously got a whole lot more clout than possibly Gemini. But guys were checking for Gemini. Don't get it twisted. That was a very big sophomore album. You know, but even off the back of one album, he's the kind of guy who that one album was so great that it's hard again to leave him out of a top 5. You know. So already I'm past 5.
Yeah.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
But then I always say guys like Diablo, for me, very hard to ignore. Foster Giuliano, Mr. Doe, the soprano. Another guy where I feel like, you know, and it's tragic to me that I feel like especially new school hip hop fans from Botswana don't know just how much this guy has done and just how incredible this guy is. I mean, Tikinya, I always told Tikinya, go back and listen to that song. Like, literally opening line is Bana fela ke dira song so sa mo Tikinya ga ke tshwara microphone bo bana ba Tikinya, like simple sentence construction, but if you break it down and decode what these bars are saying, come on, man. Stop playing, man.
You know, you're not including your big brother Nomadic.
Nomadic is my GOAT.
Yeah.
Nomadic goes without saying. That's why I say, I think the last time when I was on Budicast, I started with him. Yeah. So for me, Nomadic, we're at a point where I no longer have to say Nomadic. Literally, what I said on Tswana Renaissance Art is Scamponsa top 5 BW, Zeus Nomad top 2. Can't argue, dude. And we did actually have the number 1 and 2 albums, so
yeah. Bro, let me not hold you much, bro.
Yeah, man, I gotta go.
Spoil us with the freestyle, bro. Like
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why would I spoil you with a freestyle? I could recall you and probably lift you up since you knee high. Yo, I could inspire, take you to divine. I could probably turn water into 3 wines. That's Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon, and maybe a Merlot. Oh shit, your boy go deep, that's how I go. No, shit. Niggas might say that was, what, blasphemy. Yo, if you can't try to understand me, don't try to blast at me. No. I come back with freestyle flows that run back the flow that you used to think you knew. But now you know that. Dudes can't never come touch, can't come close. Zeus, Deuce, OG. This is a dose, Deuce.
Away. No, thanks a lot, bro. What they don't do shit.